Welcome back to Washington Watch. I'm Tony Perkins, your host. The website, tonyperkins.com. If you're on Parler, it's at T. Perkins. All right, prior to the 4th of July, Virginia officials ordered the removal of a large American flag from a construction site. Now, the flag put up by a contractor celebrating America's freedom. I mean, Virginia obviously factoring pretty important into America's founding. But they were ordered to take it down. Why? Well, joining me now with the answer is a member of the Virginia House of Delegates, former Majority Leader Todd Gilbert. Todd, welcome to Washington Watch.
Thanks, Tony. I appreciate it. Sorry it has to be on a topic as infuriating as this one.
Well, I really think people need to pay attention to Virginia. And what has happened in Virginia in the last couple of years. I mean, it's gone from, it's always been kind of on the bubble because of the influence of the D.C. area. But, I mean, you just enacted, or I shouldn't say you, the state of Virginia under the governor, enacted some pretty far-reaching legislation, gun control, turning back a lot of the pro-life legislation that you and others had successfully fought to put in place. But this is what really grabbed my attention, the removal of an American flag. Tell our listeners why it was taken down.
Yeah, and this was a large American flag that had been constructed out of, and perfectly, had been constructed out of tarps. And it was just glorious. It was huge. It was beautiful. And you would never have known it was constructed out of tarps. That's how the care that was taken to put this together by a subcontractor. And it was hung on the side, not just of any building, but it was hung on the side of the new construction of the legislative office buildings for the legislature of Virginia. So this was not just any random building. This was the seat of government authority in Richmond, in the state capitol. And the governor's office, somebody in his administration, and we're still trying to get a handle on who, whether it was the governor himself or someone else, made the decision that flag represented a target for the protests and the protesters that we've been seeing tearing up the streets and businesses of Richmond on a nightly basis for the last few weeks. And so somebody in the administration said that's a target for those protesters, and we have to take it down and hide it, rather than standing up for it being a symbol of everything that unites us as a people. We capitulated to the anti-American left and took down Old Glory.
Did the governor put a white flag up in its place?
Had not thought of that, but that probably would have been a good retort. But no, he did essentially surrender to the mob, and the mob has been running the streets of Richmond for some time now, and they've been making demands and getting their way. And this is the saddest part of that chapter, even though it was purely symbolic. Everything it represents symbolically is very troubling. Again, that this last remaining symbol of everything that unifies us as a people was taken down.
Well, Todd, I would have to think as a delegate there in the House of Delegates in Virginia, and you've served a leadership role there. I've actually years ago I spoke there at the House of Delegates for a piece of legislation that they were entertaining that I had passed in Louisiana, and it was awesome for me just to stand in that place in the history that Virginia has, that place in history that Virginia has occupied in our nation. I mean, it wasn't just another state, it was a colony, and it was a leading colony. I would have to think that a lot of people in Virginia are grieved over the direction and the capitulation of your present governor.
So much so, and I think, frankly, the degree to which even Democrats in Virginia are willing to give in to the outwardly, openly anti-American left within their party, I think they misunderstand truly where most Americans are on these symbols, upon our freedoms, everything that makes us great, everything that made us the greatest country with the most prosperous people on the face of the earth, and it's not even close, the freest, most prosperous people in history. I think most people still embrace that, and I pray that that is the truth, and that I'm not missing something. And even though anti-American sentiment is growing even in our own country among the anti-American left, and their size and their voice is growing, I would hope that at the end of the day, this is a huge miscalculation by the governor and his ilk, that people are going to embrace this sort of thing going forward.
I tend to agree with you. I think you're right. I do think this is an overreach, but I would also add to this, Todd, and I think you can probably speak to this in the few moments we have left, is that complacency of those who care about this country and love this country, but yet just kind of are on the sidelines, that allows this to happen.
Absolutely.
Virginia is a case study in what happens when citizens are complacent about their state.
Absolutely. And as you mentioned, we had a robust supermajority here just a few years ago in the legislature in the House of Delegates. And I did serve as majority leader, and now I am the minority leader because of the shifting political winds here in Virginia. And Virginia is a bellwether for the rest of the country, and I think it should be instructive to people all across the country that if whatever their values are, if they are godly values, if they are American values, if they are just, freedom, there are forces on the march that really hate those ideals. Everything about, the essence of what people think the world is about and their worldview, they hate those things, and they are coming for them in every form. And unless people are willing to get up and change the way they do business and get engaged as citizens, I'm afraid all may be lost. So we still have a chance, Tony, but this was instructive.
Yeah, it's all hands on deck. Delegate Todd Gilbert, thanks so much for joining us, and thank you for continuing the fight there in the Commonwealth of Virginia.
Thanks for having me today.